UFC 311 wrapped up. Islam Makhachev submitted Renato Moicano within the first round and absolutely steamrolled him. Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov was an absolute scrap and possibly the only entertaining fight Merab has ever and will have gone through in his entire career. So let's start there. We'll start with Umar versus Merab. This was the co-main event. I feel like after Arman Sukin had pulled out, this really became the people's main event. First two rounds really were kind of what I thought this fight was going to be. Umar Nurmagomedov just kind of picked Merab at range, did really well on the feet and was kind of stuffing all his takedowns. But one thing I just couldn't figure out early on in this fight is why the fuck Merab wasn't shooting takedowns. Like the first two rounds I really thought Merab was just standing with Umar, and I think if you're a Merab fan, that's possibly the worst thing you can do in this fight. He was standing there with Umar, letting Umar pick him at range, and I really felt like he was kind of holding on to kind of getting into scrambles with Umar almost. Not scrambles, but kind of frenzies where he might be able to catch Umar on something. Third, fourth, and fifth round, they were Merab's rounds. Even though Merab won this fight, it was razor close. Okay, this was a fucking close fight. Like, he had to bag three of the last rounds in this fight to win this fight. Like, first two were clearly Umar. The fifth round, up until maybe the last minute, I was thinking Umar was going to win that round and steal this fight. But Merab did his thing towards the end. Like, he was pressing takedowns, and I really felt Umar just gassed out of like completely nowhere. Like, it was insane. And Umar gassed out kind of towards the end of the second, beginning of the third, and that's before they really got into heavy wrestling exchanges. When Umar gassed out, maybe Merab's game plan actually was to just, gas him out and kind of push on him later on in the fight. Which, if that was his game plan, worked extremely well, because I didn't see the constant moving pressure and the amount of takedowns Merab has. I didn't see that in the early rounds, okay? I really didn't. It's a striking fight, and Umar's question mark kick is fucking great. Umar's striking's unreal, okay? I really felt Umar just needed a little bit more in certain areas to win this fight, okay? It was a close-ass fight. Merab won the fight. He should have won a fight. Some judge gave it 49-46, which is fucking ridiculous. Okay, that is an absolute outrage. In no world was that a 49-46 fight. It was clearly a 3-2, 48-47. And I really felt at the end of that fifth, Umar was going to get it, man. I remember thinking he was landing kind of better on the feet, and I thought, fuck, he's going to be able to piece up a victory here. But Merab started shooting takedowns, and he was able to get Umar down, and Umar did extremely well with the grappling. Like, he was getting up off all of Merab's takedowns, and there was one where it was up against the cage, and then Umar was able to get Merab's back, and that's what I really kind of was like, oh fuck, this could be over here, because this dude is working Merab. And he was working him early on and then just gassed out like everyone does against Merab. And I think for bantamweight, I really don't see anyone beating this guy. Like you say that about Ilya and stuff like that, but this dude seems to be on an absolute next level cardio wise. And it's funny because I don't really rate his skill set. I think we really saw it again of him not being the best level striker, and people are able to get up off his takedowns. But he's so relentless, bro. He doesn't breathe heavy, and his cardio is the best in UFC history. Listen, I've shit on Merab as much as anyone else, but he's in that conversation now of the GOAT status. He is in that conversation. There is a little kind of flaws on his resume which prevent me from going hands down absolute GOAT. So Jose Aldo, that was his retirement fight. I know he came back, but still, it wasn't prime Aldo. Then he beats Henry Cejudo, hasn't won a fight in 5 years. Then you beat Peter Yan, who's coming off 2 losses. Technically 2 losses. Obviously, there's still amazing wins, but there still are a few flaws in his resume. And, the skill set isn't there as well for me to be able to say that, because he was losing the first 2 rounds comfortably against Umar. And if Umar had kept up the gas tank, he would have beaten Merab. I just think that's what gets people, is that they tire out. Maybe Merab played it perfectly, because if his game plan was to tire him out in the first 2 and win the third, he did that fucking spot on. Okay, he couldn't have done that any better. And as much as I'm saying as I don't see it within the skill set to be the bantamweight GOAT, Merab is absolutely undeniable now. Who do you give this guy? Do you know what I mean? Do you chuck Yan in there for a rematch? Do you let Pantoja come up and fight him? That could be a possibility, which I'm not totally mad at, but Merab would fucking butcher Pantoja. Maybe Sanhagen with the win, see how that goes. But you know what I mean? There's really no options left, and he's not going to fight Ilya Topuria, which is fucking stupid, because we had the same situation with Aljamain Sterling. Okay, it's the exact same situation. I will not fight him. He's my brother. You know what I mean? Like, he'll just go around saying that, and they're not going to fight, and that's a mega fight. That's a super fight, bro. Ilya does not deserve to move up. I don't give a fuck what anyone... I'm going to be talking about Ilya later on in this video about potential matchup, but still, Ilya does not deserve to move up, okay? But we'll get to that. But Merab, absolutely staple win performance. He went from hated to a fan favorite. I respect Merab, okay? I respect Merab. I just think there are more entertaining styles in the division that I would rather see in championship fights to be the champion. But that was a fucking absolute banger fight. This card was so fucking stacked. I loved all the fights on this card. It was a fucking amazing card, and that was an absolute fucking banger of a fight with Umar, and I fucking loved it. It was one of my favorite fights I've seen in a long time, and this card was absolutely stacked. But Merab, undeniable. It's, I'm curious to see what's next. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm looking forward to it, okay, but I'm curious to see what's next for this guy, because he's not far off being able to move up, I don't think, to be honest with you. I think he's nearly at that stage now where he kind of deserves to move up, and I feel like he deserves to fight for a second belt. You know what I mean? Now, having said that, that is his first title defense. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, when you've cleared out all the contenders before the belt, it's a little bit different to Ilya, who's only got 2 wins in the top 10. But still, we'll move on. Merab, undeniable. Umar, what's next for Umar, actually? You could even do a Peter Yan fight. I'm not necessarily mad at that. You know what I mean? There's options for him. I think Yan makes the most amount of sense in this moment. Yan's coming off a win, 2 wins, Song Yadong and Davison Figueiredo. Umar's coming off a loss in a belt. You do that fight, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, Umar is definitely going to get his hands on the belt for sure. I think him and Merab are going to fight again. I think they're the 2 best bantamweights, and I think Umar's the only one who can beat him. But now that I think Merab is going to start a lot earlier with the pressure and the takedowns, I do think Merab would have a bit of a more dominant win. Because I really thought early on Umar was just fucking him up. But I could not for the life of me understand why Merab wasn't shooting early. Now, it worked out because he won. But if his game plan was to go in there and gas Umar out later on, he's got spot on. But I was so confused, because if he was just standing there with him and testing out the striking, I was like, this dude's a fucking idiot. But, Umar gassed out, Merab won, all is well. Main event time. It was a sad moment for us Money Moicano fans. Moicano got submitted in the first round against Islam Makhachev. He absolutely steamrolled him after a nice little scare of dropping Makhachev, which has to be noted. Moicano, it's quite hard to say much about this fight, okay? Moicano looked very kind of quick on the feet early on. He definitely landed a few more strikes, landed kind of cleaner shots. But the second Islam shot in for a takedown, within seconds the fight was over. Moicano kind of got butterfly hooks to be able to push Islam off, tried to get back up to his feet. Islam kind of grabbed his head and locked him up for a dash choke. They locked up his legs, and it was over in seconds. That's what separates the kind of champions from contenders, in my opinion. Being able to do that quickly against a grappler to the level of Money Moicano is what makes him a champion. Okay, doing that quickly is insane. Now listen, of course, Arman Tsarukyan was the fight we all wanted. It was a fight that made sense, and it was the fight everyone wanted to see, but we didn't get it, and fuck it. We have to go with what we have. Makhachev has broken the all-time lightweight title defenses of 4, which is actually pretty insane to think that there's only 3 title defenses. I think it was Frank Yeager, Benson Henderson, and Khabib. BJ Penn, maybe, I can't remember his BJ Penn, but those 3 definitely got 3 title defenses. And now Makhachev's broken free. And it's a bit of a shame, because people are going to look at Makhachev's 4 title defenses. 2 of them are short notice, which one of them's Volkanovski on short notice, one of them's Moicano on short notice, the other 2, Dustin Poirier and Volkanovski. I really feel like the Volk win is one of the most underrated wins, the first fight, because that was prime Volkanovski in Australia, and we seen Max Holloway move up to fight Justin Gaethje, so we know there's a divisional skill gap. Then he moves back down and gets knocked out. We know there's a divisional skill gap between lightweight and featherweight. Okay, I do think that. And that's an incredible win. And Dustin Poirier finished Dustin Poirier, you know, shaky performance, whatever. Not the best one. And I really felt like this was the one to really get people back. The Arman Tsarukyan fight was the really one to get people back to say, okay, Makhachev is that guy. And the Dustin Poirier fight was an off night. Like, let's not forget, this was the guy that fucking but ran through prime Charles Oliveira. Now, Charles has changed since that fight. He's more of a, he's a smarter fighter. Like, before, I think he was kind of just like, I'm going to finish you or get finished, and I don't give a fuck what happens. But now he's kind of like, okay, I'm going to win. I think he wants to win more, and he's smarter. That Charles fight's probably going to be next, and, you know, he beat Michael Chandler. I don't necessarily think I'm over the moon with that fight, considering he lost to Arman 8 months ago at UFC 300. I'm not necessarily happy, but then again, I understand that the lightweight division is quite tight at the moment, and there's no real number one contender. And I would love to see Makhachev be busy. I want to see him back in there during the summer, June, July. You know, he fought Volkanovski in February 2 years ago, and then he fought Volkanovski again in October, of course, with short notice. Then he waited till summer to fight Poirier. Now he's back. I don't want to see Makhachev back in October. I don't fucking want to see it, bro. I want to see him in there during the summer, okay? And I want to see him against, you know, here's one fight I want to see, actually. Let's say they do Charles versus Islam during the summer. Okay, cool, whatever. Let's, you know, keep Islam busy, get another title defense maybe, see how that fight goes, because it's a completely different fight. I think, my friend and I were chatting about this, I think the fight to make is Ilya versus Arman. I mentioned Ilya before, and I don't think he deserves to move up, but 1 title defense and 2 top 10 wins. Okay? I just don't think, I think he has work to do. You have Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez. They're fighting soon. I think Ilya has work to do. Okay, and a lot of people are going to be salty or mad at me saying that. I don't really care, because he's only got 1 title defense. And I know they're Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Fair enough. Okay? But you have contenders now. You have the Diego Lopez's. You know what I mean? You have the Movsar Evloevs. You need to get those 2 out of the way. Then we can see, you know, kind of, okay, maybe the lightweight division's free and stuff like that. Then maybe move up. But there's not enough talk about Islam Makhachev moving up. Like, he's just broken the fucking record for title defenses. Does anyone else not think this guy deserves to move up? Makhachev is just broken the record for title defenses. There's no talk of him moving up to fight Belal Muhammad. I know Belal Muhammad and Islam probably won't fight, but if Shavkat Rakhmonov is able to get through Belal Muhammad, fucking sign me up for Islam to move up. Okay? Fucking sign me. He's talking about fighting Dricus du Plessis. That's a piss take. I don't think he's going to do that. And then he's saying he needs to get on that DC program to fight Alex Pereira. You know what I mean? Makhachev's funny. I really like Islam Makhachev. I'm actually happy he won this fight, because, and the way he did, simply because, like, let's say Moicano would have went in there and made it really competitive and Islam barely won. I think that deadens a lot of kind of matchups moving forward. Do you know what I mean? I think the fact that he went in there and the first grappling exchange, he had him out there in seconds, just builds more hype for fights, because it's going to make it even bigger if he loses. But if he loses to Arman Tsarukyan, let's say, which won't happen, if he loses to Arman, then people will say, oh yeah, like, Moicano showed the holes and Arman finished the job, shit like that. And I'm happy Islam won this fight. What's next for Money Moicano? It's a tough one to take. You know, we've just got the announcement of Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje. I'll make a video on that. Maybe the winner of that fight or the loser of that fight, you never know. I don't want to see him rebooked against Beneil Dariush. Moicano deserves a top 5 opponent, in my opinion, after this performance. I'm not completely against the idea of a Fiziev rematch, but I think there is also kind of better matchups out there for him. Do you know what I mean? Paddy Pimblett, he's always going to be in the conversation. Michael Chandler, you know, Moicano deserves one of these big names, okay? The Pimblett fight, we all have talked about this for so long, and it doesn't seem to be happening. The UFC don't really seem to want to make it for some odd reason, but I don't think that fight's going to happen yet. Probably not in the next fight, maybe the one after. We'll see how they both kind of line up, but maybe Mateusz Gamrot versus Moicano would make sense to do that as a nice little main event. I would see what happens from there, but all in all, UFC 311 was an absolute fucking cracking card. Jamal Hill versus Yuri Prochazka. What a fucking banger fight that was. Tough one to take for Jamal Hill as well. Just an absolute cracking card. You know what I mean? That fight was a fucking banger as well. Yuri really surprised me with his head movement and his ability to move forward to take shots. Hill's boxing was definitely better, but you know, Yuri found the shots when he needed to. Hill's head movement was the one that wasn't doing well, and I picked Jamal Hill by KO. I made a video on it a while ago, got some decent views, and I'm sure the comments will be flooded now, but you know, that's the game, isn't it? And yeah, UFC 311, Peyton Talbot as well. He got fucking fraud checked. That was absolutely fucking tragic. He got 10-8'd, like, you know, that is fucking terrible. You know, I was thinking, it's one thing if this guy was winning the fight clearly, and then he got shinned, you know, he just got caught. Like MVP versus Douglas Lima in the first fight, if you know, you know. He was absolutely piecing him up, took the piss, got caught. If that had happened, I'd be like, you know, probably just arrogance and inexperience within that kind of setting and stuff like that. But you got 10-8'd, bro. Bad. I don't really see much hope for this kid anymore after that, to be honest with you. But yeah, UFC 311, one of the best cards you will watch. Let me know what you think down below. Thanks for watching.